you guys, this is Rashonels for News, Views, and Conversations, aka Urban Beats Radio 2. Just wanted to pop in today to give you my spiel on the whole foolishness with Donald J. Trump, the Trumpster. He is at it again. He has been read his rights by the Green Party leader, Elizabeth May, from Canada. She's basically letting him know it's a hell no. You're not coming over here to take over nothing. You're not running no Canada. You're not doing any of that. So many people have already stood up and said, what they've had to say to him because this is just outrageous. It makes absolutely no sense at all. One thing that is apparently clear, he and Putin are both after world domination. So he wants to go and take over Canada, Greenland, the Panama Canal, Mexico, all of that. They have world domination ambitions. And so if he is able to do that, which I don't think he will be able to do that, but if he's able to do that, uh, he will be able to help Putin as well. He goes and get his side, gets his corner of the world, and he can kind of help him do whatever he's trying to get done. So it's clear. I definitely see now why they don't want NATO in place. As long as NATO is in place and as long as everybody has allies, they can't get in there and do what they want to do. They want to be able to, be the muscle to, shut down NATO and make it to where they can't do anything to stop them. And they got free reign to just go and do what they want to do, go bulldoze someone else's country and go and take over. So it's completely clear that they want world domination. They want to divide and conquer. But of course, we can't let them do that. I'm so glad that a lot of the leaders around the world are speaking up, standing up for themselves. They have a backbone. Unlike a lot of the political leaders here in the United States, they are not saying anything as if they have forgotten how to do their jobs, which is just crazy. And of course, he did go ahead and get the scarlet letter only of being the 34-time convicted felon with no real punishment. And this is what we've been saying the whole time. This is what we've been watching. When you don't punish, it makes the devil more emboldened, more bold to go and try and do more things. He hasn't even gotten in office yet. And look at all of what we've been hearing, what we're finding out. He's even sent his son over there to Greenland, to make a statement. But from what I'm hearing, the people that he had in the pictures with the maggot hats on, those were homeless people. So they've already started grifting right there with, pretending that people really do F with them when they really don't. It's all fake. It's all an illusion. It's all a fraud. They're grifters. He's even teaching his children how to grift from dad grifter. I mean, this is just ridiculous behavior beyond me, just completely crazy. But one thing that we're seeing, though, it is to justice systems for regular civilians, working Americans. If they do any of the stuff that he's doing, they would go to jail. If it had been Obama, he would have went to jail because he's this. But for white supremacy, grifter politicians, no jail. For whatever reason, he has special privileges. So for the things that they are allowing to go on here in the United States, he's thinking now, I've become president again. I can go take over countries like Putin. And I've been watching him for a very, very long time. And I've always kind of just watched to see. I'm like, okay, he's trying to do everything, mimic everything that Putin is doing. And that's what we're watching. He's watching what Putin is doing to Ukraine. So now he's thinking he can go do that to Canada, the Panama Canal, Greenland, Mexico. So he has the same thug ambitions that Putin has. So they're both on the same page. But I just wanted to leave you with the video that I looked at the other day. I thought it was very hilarious, but very, very truthful. I love how the Green Party leader, Elizabeth May from Canada, read him his rights and let him know which way to go with it. So I will see you guys in the next video, and I hope you're having a fantastic, fantastic Sunday.
Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Va chier. That's how Canadians in French say f off. And they're saying va chier a lot now to Donald Trump following this. Trump calls for Canada to become the 51st state, and Trump hosting talks at Mar-a-Lago to integrate Canada into the United States.
Tell us a little bit about your conversation with President-elect Trump on this issue.
Even before Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary started debriefing Fox News, Canadian political leaders lashed out.
My message to incoming President Trump is that first and foremost, Canada will never be the 51st state of the U.S.
Now, as Canada's Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, here is Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario and leader of a centre-right party.
you know something, to the president, I'll make him a counteroffer. How about if we buy Alaska and we'll throw in Minnesota and Minneapolis at the same time? So, you know, it's not realistic. I know he likes making these comments and he likes joking around. I take that seriously. He may be joking, but under my watch, that will never, ever happen.
Charlie Angus, a member of Canada's Parliament and an author, wrote on social media, "Dear Donald, Canada has something called democracy. It means the leader is accountable to Parliament and can be replaced. I bet Americans wish they had that now. And convicted sexual abusers don't get to lead our nation. We're decent folks. P.S. Button up. We're sending frigid cold your way. Love, Canada." The calls for Trump to F off have intensified amidst this.
Breaking right now, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, just resigned.
I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
Justin Trudeau's political standing in Canada had been weak for years. Still, MAGA World was delighted by Trudeau's final demise and gave Donald Trump credit.
He sat down across the table from President-elect Donald Trump and said, you know, I don't think I'm qualified to handle this. And I think that that's why we're seeing him exit stage left.
The president-elect himself also taking credit for the resignation and again calling for Canada to become the 51st state. Writing on social media, the United States can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies that Canada needs to stay afloat. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned. If Canada merged with the U.S., there would be no tariffs, taxes would go way down, and they would be totally secure. Together, what a great nation it would be.
So, just minutes after Trudeau's resignation, there was Donald Trump renewing his calls for Canada to become a U.S. state and taking credit for Trudeau's departure. Never mind, of course, that Canada is a sovereign nation and that Trudeau had been in trouble long before Trump's taunting began in December.
Really, it's been bad polling numbers. For about a year now, Mr. Trudeau has been behind the Conservative Party, and those numbers have grown substantially. In the past few months, the Liberals projected to, in the next election, which will take place in 2025, potentially lose by between 20 and 25 points, get absolutely wiped out in the House of Commons, Canadian Parliament, and potentially be not the first party, not the second party, not the third party, the fourth party in Parliament. So there was really a mutiny from Liberal members of Parliament to tell Justin Trudeau he needed to quit. And Mr. Trudeau quit today in the face of potentially more resignations from cabinet. A few weeks ago, he lost his deputy prime minister and finance minister, who quit just hours before a big fall economic statement.
Now, to be fair, Donald Trump's trolling of Trudeau in recent weeks, including telling the Canadian Prime Minister to his face in Mar-a-Lago that he, Trudeau, should be the governor of Canada and that Canada should be a U.S. state, well, that didn't help Trudeau.
All of these things that Donald Trump has been talking about has kind of underscored the line that many in the Conservative Party here in Canada, the official opposition, have been saying needs to have for an election to happen, because Mr. Trudeau is at the end of his mandate here. There is a scheduled election to happen in 2025. And with Mr. Trudeau at the end and having low polling numbers, many analysts have been focusing on the fact that maybe Donald Trump's looking right past Justin Trudeau and focusing on Pierre Poilievre, who's the Conservative leader, someone that Elon Musk has been tweeting about, someone that Joe Rogan is talking about, someone that in conservative American circles has been starting to gain some traction. So Trump's tweets, Trump's taunts really did not help Mr. Trudeau, who was already in a weak position. And there was a lot of concern and angst here in Canada about the potential for these 25% tariffs to be levied on Canadian goods going to the U.S. Estimates up here would see a potential 5% GDP cut in the Canadian economy, a potential disaster for Canada.
U.S. economists say the tariffs would also be disastrous to American consumers who would see prices skyrocket. And more goods are imported into the United States from Canada than from any other country in the world. So there is some speculation that Donald Trump is using his tariff threats as a negotiating ploy to enact more border security concessions from Canada. In any case, between the Trump tariff threats and the Trump talk of annexing Canada, Canadians are clearly not in a joking mood. Living alongside the United States has not exactly been easy for many Canadians. They believe our government is corrupt, our greed is revolting, and our crime is insane, especially the mass shootings. By most measures, Canada is safer and more progressive than the United States. Charlie Angus, the member of Parliament who wrote the line we highlighted earlier that convicted sexual abusers don't get to lead our nation, appeared recently on the Midas Touch.
Canadians are very proud of our traditions, and we know, having lived next door to our neighbors, which some have said it's like being, living upstairs in an apartment above a meth lab at times. But yeah, our taxes might be slightly higher, but it doesn't cost us a dime to go to the doctors, and we don't have people shooting CEOs on the streets because they can't get medical coverage.
Living alongside the United States is like living above a meth lab. And that saying among Canadians has been around for a while. Still, all of the Trump talk about Canada somehow being part of the United States has prompted a hilarious counterintuitive take from CNN's Van Jones.
I don't understand why anybody's mad at Trump about this. If Trump, I'm serious, if Trump wants for Canada to become the 51st country, that would be a huge blue state.
Yeah.
A huge blue state. I would be
retracting my
so happy. Exactly.
Like, do not need two more
I don't think that Trump has thought this through. First of all, it would be wonderful to have a massive blue state. They have an amazing healthcare system. It would be wonderful for us to listen. If Canada wants to come here and rescue us, I am more than happy to
rescue us. But instead of Canada rescuing the United States, the more likely scenario would be that the United States ruins Canada. And after all, there's a strong argument that nearly everything Donald Trump has touched in his life, from culture to casinos to American politics, has gone to shit. And Canadians are not about to take any risk that Trump forces them to manger la merde, if you know what I mean. Still, Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary, who was originally from Montreal, recently floated a proposal to Trump in Mar-a-Lago, and he described it on Fox.
One was integrating Canada towards a North American Union for greater strength, just period. The world's a difficult place these days, and most Canadians would like to look at that opportunity without giving up their sovereignty. So low-hanging fruit would be combined currency, for example, combining the Bank of Canada with the Fed, things like that. We are the largest trading partners. And just to ask him, because this was on Saturday, to say these meetings you're having with Trudeau and finance ministers from Canada, with all due respect, sir, are a complete waste of time. This guy's going to get eradicated out of the Canadian political landscape.
O'Leary said he also asked Donald Trump to give Canada time to get through its elections. That point, waiting for Canada to elect their next leader, should be a no-brainer for Donald Trump, but should is the operative word. And as far as combining currencies and merging the Bank of Canada with the Fed, it's an interesting idea in theory, but if that idea comes from Donald Trump, it will probably never fly. Because for all of their similarities, the U.S. and Canadian banking and financial systems also have their differences. Most importantly, Donald Trump is not exactly building up goodwill or trust with Canadians every time he suggests Canada become a U.S. state. The Canadian response these days has been harsh, and there may be no word or phrase these days that does justice to the Canadian contempt for Donald Trump. Still, as I keep hearing from my Canadian friends and relatives about Trump, By the way, here in the United States, Donald Trump voters are getting shattered as the reality of his policies is becoming clear.
Trump's plan would cut the GDP by 8.9%. And let me put that in perspective for you. This is roughly twice the amount that the GDP went down during the financial crisis. Wow. So we would be looking at something between a recession and a depression.
And she goes, I didn't know that Donald Trump wanted to take away the Affordable Care Act. I thought he was just going to get rid of Obamacare, and I was all for that. And I paused because I wasn't sure if she was joking or not. And then I say, those are the same thing. They're one and the same. And she goes, well, I didn't know that. And now I don't know if I'm going to have insurance for my kids or for myself.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Joe Daniels, who wrote, the racism is in full view when it comes to Obamacare versus the ACA. What a bunch of ignoramuses. I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about Canada telling Donald Trump, Vash mange la. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.